Running a little bit behind with this one, but there has been a few videos recently that I've been wanting to get to and get sorted, and there's some big ones that I've been doing recently as well. But nevertheless, we are still doing this series where we look at the best releases of each month, starting with January. The first month has kind of flown by, actually. I feel like it's just come and gone so quickly. I mean, it started slow, then really started to rapidly move along quickly for me. So yeah, and as time went on, we got more and more releases, more and more bigger names starting to drop. February is looking tasty. February is looking super tasty, I gotta say. Also, we've got March coming up too. Some tasty albums on the way for the next couple of months. It's going to be exciting. But January, as always, is a little slower than other months, but that's not to say there hasn't been some good stuff. There has been some good stuff, actually, and I'm getting more and more happy, more and more impressed with each January as each January comes and goes, because I feel like we're hitting a point now where more and more artists are just being a bit more daring with releasing in January. It was always a bit of a deserted, quiet month, but I don't think we're at that point anymore. Some big names will be mentioned in this video as well, or bigger names, but I do want to start with Metaroom. I think this was a really cool early release for the year. I mentioned it in that early releases video. There'll be more of those coming throughout the start of this year as well. I'll be doing more of them as time goes by. But Metaroom dropped a really cool drum and bass leaning album. It's a quite nocturnal sounding album that I was really impressed with. Had a bit of that sort of igloo ghost feel to it as well. It was quite colourful, it was quite splashy and splishy in places, with really nice little details and textures that came through. I was impressed, it was good. Next, I want to mention something I haven't reviewed on this channel, but it was a pretty huge, big, lengthy release that was really good in my opinion. Trippie Redd's album. No one on Rate Your Music is gonna like this one because it's got a really low score rating on there. I'm actually really surprised at how low it is actually. But for a Rage release in this style of music, I think it's actually been one of the better ones to come out of the past few years. I think it could definitely be chunked down a little bit. There's probably too many tracks, and a lot of the tracks do the same thing, but the features are super impressive. I think the stacked feature list is insane actually, and I think what Trippie is doing with this style is currently up there with some of the better artists out there doing it, honestly. So that's my opinion on this. I don't think anyone out there seems to agree with me, but yeah, that's where I'm at. I like this Trippie Redd album, surprisingly, because I've not really liked anything he's put out so far, but there you go. Next, a bit of a surprise release as well. One of the biggest surprises in hip-hop for quite some time. Lil Yachty does psych rock. Would you believe it? No, it was hard to sit down with initially and stomach the fact that he completely changed his style. I've seen some interesting opinions on this album, some strange discourse, honestly, about how all kinds of things that I just don't quite really understand. Some of the comparisons that have been made have been really bizarre for me as well, but I again, just thought this was good. It was good stuff. It was nice to see Lil Yachty branch out. I think it's bold of him to do it. He's already a punching bag in the world of hip-hop. Most old heads, most purists in the world of hip-hop have never accepted his stuff. They've never accepted him as an artist. And to then switch things up and do something completely different that isn't even in the hip hop world, it's probably just going to get more and more people punching him, to be honest. But it was good. It's not the most unique album you've ever heard in the psych rock and psych pop field, of course, but for what it's doing, it's enjoyable. And Drive My Car, that's a great tune. Lots of good tunes. Next, I want to mention the first great album, in my opinion, of 2023, Kinoteki. Really happy with this album. Love the influences that come through, love the stylistic choices that Kinoteki delivers on this album. Everything is done at a really high level. There's lots of jungle, drum and bass coming through. You've got some footwork and juke. All of it kind of amalgamated into this really great release for me, and a really nice celebration of all those styles. And I think Kinoteki's been pretty underrated for quite a few years actually. I've been impressed with what Kinoteki's done, but this album is just like the sort of like the cherry on top. This is the best release they've put out so far for me, in my opinion. Yeah, and I was super happy to hear all of these sounds done so well on a great album. But of course, as always, we have to round this section off with my album of the month. And if you watched the review, you should know that Parannoul was quite obviously going to take it this time. This is a fantastic release from a South Korean artist who I think is solo and does a lot of it on his own, I believe. Yeah, Parannoul is a brilliant shoegaze artist, and this is up there with one of the best shoegaze albums I've heard in quite a few years, which sounds like a bold claim, but it's not really been a genre that's really been screaming out to me for quite a while. So maybe some people might be thinking, oh no, what about this, what about that, what about this? Well, yeah, sure, but for me this is up there with one of the best. And yeah, so impressed with this. Very joyous sounding, very momentous sounding, very well produced. Everything's just come together so well on this album, and it's fantastic. So yeah, album of the month, quite easily. There you go, your first album of the month of 2023. And as always, I end this video off with some songs that play out. These are some of my favorite songs of the month, so check these out as well, and let me know your thoughts in the comments as always. Have a good day, subscribe, check out my Patreon as well, that would be fantastic, and yeah, enjoy the songs.
I just can't walk away, you drive me crazy.
Where resistance is futile, business as usual to blow out your wig like French poodle.